The plate trembled slightly in the waitress's hand as she slammed it onto the counter, her voice sharp and cold. "We don't serve as kind here," she snapped, loud enough for the other diners to hear. Forks paused midair. Conversations thinned to whispers. Some heads turned, but most quickly looked away, pretending to study their menus as if they hadn't witnessed what had just happened at the far corner booth. The old man sat still, his wrinkled hands resting quietly on the table. His weathered cap, embroidered with the golden emblem of the Marine Corps, sat proudly atop his white hair. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He simply lowered his eyes, as if this wasn't the first time life had dismissed him like this. The waitress crossed her arms, her lips curling with disdain. "You can sit here all you like, but you won't be served. Not by me." It was a quiet violence, the kind that cuts deeper than raised voices. The man's name was Walter Briggs, though no one here bothered to ask. Years ago, he'd stormed the beaches of Iwo Jima, crawled through blood-soaked sands, carried brothers on his back while bullets snapped past his ears. He'd earned medals he never wore and buried friends whose names he could never forget. The war had left its marks, both visible and hidden. A limp in his right leg, the faint tremor in his left hand. Nightmares that never quite loosened their grip. But it wasn't the battles that shaped him, it was what he carried home. The silence, the weight of survival. After the war, Walter lived a life of quiet service. He worked as a janitor in the local school. He volunteered at the shelter on holidays. He never asked for thanks. He never expected to be remembered, but that morning, he simply wanted a cup of coffee and some eggs. Something simple, something human. The diner wasn't packed, but not one person spoke up for him. Some shifted uncomfortably. Others whispered to their companions, but no one challenged. The waitress. Walter's gaze drifted to the window, where the morning sun painted soft amber streaks across the pavement. He had learned, long ago, that sometimes silence was the loudest form of dignity. Minutes passed. The waitress returned, ignoring him completely as she cleared plates from nearby tables, her words sharp and sweet to other customers, as though he didn't exist. But across the room, a young busboy hesitated. His eyes flicked between the waitress and the old Marine. He glanced toward the door, as if waiting, and then it opened and a man stepped in, tall and broad, his uniform crisp, his presence commanding. The silver badge on his chest caught the morning light. Police Chief Daniels. His boots echoed against the tile as he approached the counter. The waitress's face brightened immediately. "Good morning, Chief. Coffee. Your usual." But Daniels didn't smile. His eyes swept the room and landed squarely on Walter. Without a word, the chief walked past the counter, past the stunned waitress, and stopped at Walter's table. Slowly, carefully, he removed his hat and placed it gently on the table. Then, with deliberate precision, he snapped to attention and saluted. The diner fell into breathless silence. "Sergeant Briggs." The chief's voice carried the weight of honor. "It's been a long time. You may not remember me, but when I was a boy, you pulled me from a burning car on Route 7. I wouldn't be standing here if not for you." Walter's eyes lifted, a flicker of recognition sparking through the haze of years. The silence between them spoke volumes. The chief turned to the waitress, his gaze now sharp and unblinking. "This man will be served, not as a favor, but as his right. And if anyone here has a problem with that," his voice settled into a cold resolve, "they'll answer to me." The waitress stammered, her confidence crumbling under the weight of the moment. I didn't know." "You shouldn't need to know," Daniels said, his words slicing through the room like a blade. "Respect isn't earned by medals. It's owed to every person who walks through that door." The busboy moved first, bringing Walter a fresh cup of coffee, his hands trembling just slightly as he set it down. Slowly, as if the room had woken from a long-held breath, the other patrons rose, one by one, until the entire diner stood in silent respect. Walter's voice, when it came, was soft but steady. "Some battles," he said, wrapping his fingers around the warm mug, "you fight, without ever raising your voice." The chief smiled. "And some victories," he replied. "You win without ever lifting a hand." Those words would linger far beyond the diner walls, echoing through the small town like a quiet anthem. Sometimes the loudest power is the dignity of silence. Sometimes the deepest respect is standing when no one else will. If you believe stories like these deserve to be told, Let us know where you're watching from and share your thoughts in the comments. For more stories that honor the silent heroes among us, make sure to subscribe.